David Barr asks us, stop you if you heard this one, because kilt wearing and Highland dress is much more common here in the US and Canada, he means the diaspora in general, I think, not as much in Scotland because they mostly wear them for special occasions and a lot of time it's rental. Does this mean that kilt wearers here in the US are driving the next fashion trends in kilts and Highland dress?
That is a bold assertion from our friend David Barr.
Yes.
Look out, David Barr. They're going to come after you. Do we think that the U.S. is leading, U.S./diaspora are leading Highland wear trends, or is it still Scotland?
Mm-hmm.
I would phrase it this way. We all live in bubbles. So Scotland has its kilt wearing bubble. The U.S. and I would say the diaspora / the diaspora has their own bubble online, but locally within country or region, there are other bubbles. So does the Scotland rental industry care at all what Americans or Canadians or Australians are doing wearing kilts? Not at all. That's not their market. But the rental industry and the youth, the younger people in Scotland are typically what are driving the trends for kilt wearing within Scotland. And they're also wearing kilts for different reasons. They have different rationales. So they're doing it differently for different reasons. Now, the US, Canada, the diaspora, we're doing it, our own way. And I don't think we are fully influenced by what Scotland is doing, but probably still somewhat influenced. So I would say that Scottish pipe bands and the Scottish rental industry kind of export their flavor, if you will, which will influence the U.S. and the diaspora, Canada, Germany, Australia, let's say 5 to 10 years later, or 5 years later, let's say. But we are coming up with our own traditions within it. So utility kilts are not really a thing at all in Scotland. The utility kilts with the pleat inserts would never be a thing in Scotland. Yeah. But it's a thing at Highland Games in the U.S. or Canada or Australia.
Yep.
So we're each determining our own future. We're each creating our own thing. We are a two different trunks coming from a common tree. Mm-hmm. So 200 years ago, before, Exodus to America, to Australia, to wherever, you have a common ancestor. And then when those people left Scotland, now it's a whole different thing. They're bringing with them their traditions, their clan Tartans from back then, but they're taking it in a different way and wearing it for a different reason and it's a different evolution entirely than what is in Scotland now. Thoughts, Erik?
I can't add much. I will say that you said bubbles. It made me think actually of like a Venn diagram. I think that we do have points of intersection, and different regions in the age of the interwebs will travel down those various tubes and share ideas. I think that the current popularity for tweeds that we have, tweed tartans and very soft tweedy looking, weathered looking tartans, probably got its start with people seeing some of the stuff coming out of the mills intended for hire. And people said, ooh, I kind of like that. Now we are choosing to wear it in our own way still, but I think we do get some cross-pollination, I would say.
Yes, I think it's that and other things. Mm-hmm. So specifically about the tweeds, I think it is the pipe band starting to wear tweeds. I think it is, the rental industry starting to do tweeds, as well as the Peaky Blinders, Downton Abbey effect, as well as it's all kind of,
right.
It's Hollywood as well as Scotland. It's both having effects, and those, it's kind of like, the two waves, on top of each other. It's two of the same thing that happen to converge at the same moment in time of, Highland or pipe bands, as well as the rental industry liking tweeds more in Scotland, as well as, people wanting throwback type things, for the, 1920s and the tweeds and Boardwalk Empire and all of it is popular within Hollywood in a certain period of time. So that's kind of brought it in the same way. Well, No, because this isn't Scotland, but I would say the Victorian thing starting to become more popular and having like a retro jacket vibe. And that has to do more with Outlander type thing.
I think there's a lot of reasons for history bounding and and retro vintage styles coming back. And I'll give you the whole philosophical treatise some other time. But it's just people are always a little hungry for something different. Sometimes if you've grown up in a family that wears nothing but sweatpants and practical clothes, then the traditional Highland dress is the most appealing thing. Other times, if you've been raised and exposed to a bit of the Highland, traditional stuff, then you want something that's a little different. I mean, we always go back to the Prince Charlie coatie and how that developed because you didn't want to look like your dad. So I think there's a number of factors like that going on, and fashion will always go in strange directions, but it will usually keep a core of things which are the best ideas of the best. So I would say, if I were going to tie it up, I would say that it's a mistake to think it's anything adversarial. I mean, the way Dave, I love you, phrased it as in leading, makes it sound like it's some kind of a competition, and it's not. There are new ideas coming from all over the place. And it's not a competition. I mean, it's just a more is more situation. There's great ideas everywhere.
Yeah, and each individual culture, fashion is cyclical. So finding the old things and making them new again is also part of it. But looking at like La Caron being owned by a Korean firm, like not Highland wear, but tartans and things made in Scotland are popular over there, but they're going to be very, very different than the things that are coming out in Scotland. Mm-hmm. So it's just pockets of the world. Like we're all connected in the age of the interwebs, and being able to experience different cultures, but it's going to evolve in different places in different ways. And that's fine. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a competition. It's cool to see how each individual pocket or bubble deals with it and allows it to evolve and become its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's my thoughts.
David Barr, if that is your real name.
If that is your real name.
Indeed. Okay. So here's the things I want to know. 1, where in the world are you from? Australia, Germany, Scotland, Japan? Tell us down in the comments what country you're in. Second thing, tell me what influences your Highland wear decisions the most.